everyone, and happy Friday. So on my channel, I like to include my pets quite frequently. They are a big part of my life, and because who doesn't like watching videos of cute little animals? This video is going to cover what it's like having a cat with lymphoma. I hope that this video will somehow be helpful to anyone whose pet is recently diagnosed and can hopefully give you a better understanding of maybe some things that could happen. Every animal is different and every animal reacts to things differently. So this is just what happened with Kiara, her, I guess you can say, health story. I also like to make a quick disclaimer. I am in no way qualified to say if your animal has lymphoma or cancer or any other kind of sickness or illness. If you are worried about your pet's health, you need to take them into the veterinarian. Some things that happened to Kiara that led to her being brought to the veterinarian to be checked out before she was diagnosed. Maybe something that your animal does, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have lymphoma. So please don't use this as a way to diagnose your animal. We bought Kiara when we lived in South Korea at the time. In our experience with getting animals in South Korea, we realized that the animal was often taken away from their mother relatively early, so that would often make the animal's immune system quite weak. We would always take them into the vet because they would always show some kind of signs of a sickness. Kiara, when we first got her, she wasn't extremely sick or anything. I think she just had some sinus things going on. She recovered quite quickly. For her entire life, she had no major illness. She did have a litter of kittens. The litter did have some health issues, but it was because of the father's health, which we were very unaware of. After she was bred, we did get her spayed because I realized I didn't want to breed my cat anymore because also she also wasn't the best of mom, and it was just better for her to get spayed. What led to me being concerned though of her health, she started eating dirt. And it doesn't seem like a big thing, but it's something very out of the ordinary for her. She'd be very, very thirsty. And when she would drink, she would just get super bloated. And I mean, like, she's a tiny cat. She just looked so round. She looked like a giant watermelon. So I took her in to the vet. I believe this was in early 2018 because it was near the time that I was graduating high school. You know, when you're just like watching your pet like get checked out and you're like petting them, making sure they're calm and stuff, and Kiara has always gotten very nervous at veterinarian, so she always has her head tucked in the crook of my arm. But then you realize that the veterinarian is checking her too much, you know? You just kind of have that sinking feeling, you know? So at the end of that visit, he determined that she had stage 4 lymphoma. So he recommended that we take her to a specialist to get a second opinion and kind of get an idea of how long she has and how we can treat her. She had 4 to 6 weeks to live based off how much the cancer has spread through her body. Please take your animal in for your exam because if I would have with her, it could have been caught earlier on. So to say that I was very upset about her diagnosis is a very big understatement. Kiara is a very special kitty to me. Kiara is basically my shadow. She's like my other half. She just reads my moods very well. Just to think of my life without her, it feels like such an empty life. I'm trying not to get emotional, but it feels like such an empty life without her. She is my baby, and to think that I only had 4 to 6 weeks left with her was the worst thing. The specialist told us it is very stressful on the cat to do chemotherapy, and it could just make her obviously more sick. So I did not want to do that for Kiara. After talking with our veterinarian, we decided on doing steroids. We started off with some liquid steroids, and she did fine. She takes medicine relatively well. I just had to make sure she didn't see the syringe because anytime she sees the syringe now, she's just like, I'm out of here. On the topic of medication, try to keep it the same medication throughout the entire span because changing it is something, you're changing the cat's medicine constantly, and like for a human, that can be very stressful. And they don't quite understand why you're giving them new medication and changing like the flavors of it and stuff like that. We had to do that for Kiara quite often, which we really just got really frustrated with. which it's not our veterinarian's fault exactly, but the people that they got the medications from like either stopped making the exact thing that we use for Kiara or whatever reason. She at first started off on a liquid steroid, but then it got switched to a different liquid steroid that was an awful smelling medicine. Kiara could just smell it right away, and she just did not like the flavor. This was the only time where she actually gave me the most trouble with getting her steroids in. She just did not like the taste of it. She salivated a lot at the mouth, so we decided to change it again, and I think we changed it to what she's on now, which is a pill form. And basically we crush it and then put it in her soft food, and she does the best with it. After she was diagnosed, her body basically just like was deteriorating. She would still get really bad bloating. She was dehydrated, so she would often drink too much and throw it all up. She was also losing control of her bowels. There would be times where I'd wake up in the middle of the night and feel that the blanket was wet with urine. It was pretty much an everyday occurrence. I think what basically got her stable was once the stress of all the appointments was starting to stop, the steroids were helping her. So it did take a while to get her back to normal. So kind of what she goes through now, ever since she was diagnosed, she does have off and on kind of days where she is at times maybe a little bit sluggish. There was a time where she stopped grooming herself, but usually those pass within a day or two. Her biggest setback was her most recent setback. She started vomiting very often, and then every time she would get done vomiting, like 5 seconds later she would run to the cat box and have diarrhea. It was constant. It just wasn't happening once a day. It was happening maybe every 3 hours. On the third day, she had kind of stopped for a few hours. So my mom was like, if she starts again, let me know. And she started vomiting and then diarrhea quickly after. And that was around 5 in the afternoon, 5 in the evening. So on the third day, we did call our veterinarian, but they gave her something to stop the vomiting. Then they gave her a probiotic for poops. The medicine did help. Our vet though did want us to start keeping her on the probiotic. She gets her steroids one day, her probiotic another day, then her steroids, then her probiotic. I'm just happy that we have had 3 more years with her, and I hope many more years to come. Sorry, the neighbor was going by. Her diagnosis was in 2018, beginning of 2018. That was 3 years ago. They said 4 to 6 weeks. I'm extremely grateful that God has given us more time with her. She obviously does go in for a yearly checkup and everything like that. And her last checkup, her mass has actually shrunk. He could barely feel it. Isn't that amazing? Whether you believe in God or not, that, in my opinion, is God helping out my kitty. She is a kitty, but I am so proud of her, not knowing what in the world is going on, but trusting in us. Yeah, that is what happened with Kiara. I hope this video was maybe helpful in some sort of way and kind of give you an idea of what may happen.